Thanks everybody so much for being with us today for the Caring Conference. Happy to welcome Patty, who's going to transform Legos for us. So Patty, take it away.
Yay, thank you so much, Denise. I have a question for you all. What do you think of when you see the word creativity or you hear the word creativity? Please feel free to put it in the chat. And then question number two, do you think you're born with creativity or is it something you develop? So while you guys are answering those questions in the chat, I'd like to thank you and say hello and welcome to our presentation. I want to thank Denise and her team for putting this conference together. The topics this morning were so amazing. I didn't expect to cry twice today. So with these amazing presentations, my first cry was during Heather's brutally beautiful presentation, and I thought that was amazing. And then just now with Bruce's presentation, I'm just so touched and grateful to be here and to be with all of you. So let's see. What do we get here? Self-expression, absolutely. Creativity is about self-expression, absolutely, absolutely. Used to think it was art only, but now verbal creativity, teaching, writing, exactly. You think it's developed, good, okay. You make something that didn't exist until you made it. Absolutely. That's all about creativity. Absolutely. A lot of times I get the creativity is art or music, but there's so many different ways of expressing our creativity, right? I know people who love Excel and that's the way they express themselves, right? And that's how they are creative. I believe that all the problems and the challenges we face as human beings are created by human beings. And the only way through our problems is with creativity. So yes, I think we are all born with creativity, and sometimes we kind of forget as we get older that creativity is really important, because I believe we need creativity from everything on how do we get our kids to brush their teeth at night, and for caregiving, how to, creatively take the keys away from your parents, or, how am I going to get my parents to eat right? Or, so we need creativity in our lives. And that's what this presentation is going to be all about. My intention is I inspire you to be more creative and practice your creativity. I'm going to start off with showing how I was able to use creativity and a little thing called Lego bricks to transform my life. Seniors who I worked with who were living with Alzheimer's and dementia, how I transformed their lives. And then I'm hoping to help you transform your life with practicing your creativity. So let's see. Oh, okay. So how did I develop my creativity? In 2013, my daughter bought me this Lego camper van, Volkswagen camper van. It took 12 and a half hours to build. And I was blown away. Like, I loved Lego when I was a child. I even introduced Lego to my daughter, but my daughter never really took to it. But then I went back to it, obviously, after I built this. It was so much fun just to build and to display. It brought me so much joy. I never knew that this was going to change my life. Right. So a few years later, I met a couple of Lego enthusiasts, and I found out there was a lot of people making a living, building with Lego. So I did what most people did. I started working with children and teaching them how to build and expanding their creativity. And I loved it. I loved watching children expand their minds and really, bring out their creativity. And I learned so much through that. But I also thought there's got to be a segment somewhere that people aren't taking advantage of this amazing gift that Lego brings. And I started working with seniors. living with Alzheimer's and dementia and memory care communities. I would bring Duplo in as a form of entertainment, a way to just engage and, have some fun. And so it's a great tool, especially with intergenerational play. I've got pictures here of many different memory care communities. I've had kids of staff, kids from the folks who were living there who would come in and play. There's one picture in this where all the kids are in the table that was a day center where they actually had a daycare on site. So they would bring the kids out because, kids, they see Lego and their minds explode and they're like, yes, Lego, I want to play. So I've worked with hundreds of people in the Bay Area and introduced this activity. I recently, right before the pandemic, I moved to Central Oregon, where I was hoping to expand my business here. But then, as you know, the pandemic happened. So all group activities had stopped. So now my focus is to work with caregivers because I think there are millions of people out there who could really, benefit from this simple activity of just introducing Lego, right? Because there's no right or wrong with building with Lego, right? There's millions of ways of expressing yourself and playing. So we're going to go into a quick activity that we can do. So hopefully everybody brought their Lego with them. If they didn't, maybe I'll inspire you to, get some Lego. Yes, excellent. So Denise is all ready. So I'm going to introduce you to the 6-brick challenge. The 6-brick challenge is something that's very famous in the Lego community. When Lego patented the 2x4 brick, everyone knows what a 2x4 brick. So actually, let's do this. Let's see if this is going to work. Yes. Okay. So if you have 6 of these, so what is a 2x4 brick? On the top, the little protuberance on the top of each Lego is called a stud. So how you identify a stud is you've got 2 studs on one side and 4 studs on the other. So versus like this is a 1x4 plate, right? Because it's got 1x4, or this is a 2x2. So this is how the Lego community identifies parts, right? So if you have 6 of these, how many different combinations do you think you can make? So if you want to take a guess, I gave you a hint down on the bottom. If you were to make one combination for every second, it would take 29 years to actually do them all. So basically on a human level, that's kind of impossible. So the answer is 915,103,765 different combinations. So what does that mean? And that's why I think this is so amazing, is because I can give 6 bricks to 100 people and everybody's going to build something completely different. So that's what the challenge today is going to be. I want everyone who's got Lego just to build something. And I've got a couple of examples here. So I've got my little computer guy. I love this little, that's one of my favorites. Now, it doesn't matter whether you have the same colors or different colors. This is another combination that you can make. Now, the beauty of this activity is that Lego uses a different part of your brain. Lego, there's been excellent these. Now try to make a different combination. So the exercise is trying to build as many combinations as you can, right? When I first started, and I'm a Lego builder, right? When I first started, it was a challenge. I would always build the same like 5 or 6 combinations. So I use this, I always keep Lego on my desk because lots of times we're faced with a challenge and we don't know how to solve it. I use this activity to get out of my brain, to use my muscle memory in my hands to come up with different solutions. right? So anybody can do this. You could keep 6 bricks in your purse. You could keep 6 bricks in your car. You could keep 6 bricks, like me. I keep 6 bricks on my desk, and I'm always building something new and something different. And sometimes it's the same 6 combinations. There you go. Sometimes the same 6 combinations. Sometimes it's totally different. But I challenge you to try this. I was talking to a friend of mine. I sent them a kit because I developed a kit for seniors where I send out 12 bricks in a box, 6 for you and 6 for your caree. And I sent this to a friend of mine, and she was having a challenge right now with her dad, who's living in another state. And they're faced with some challenges and how to deal with his dementia and this and that. And they were sitting around the table, her husband and her son, and they had the box of bricks that I had sent them, and they were just sitting there and playing with the Lego as they were discussing what should they do, right? And she said it was so amazing because they had come up with solutions that they hadn't thought of. They felt like there was no like anger or animosity or nothing like that. It was just them keeping their hands busy as they were talking. And yeah, she said it was amazing. It really was transformative. Like, instead of just sitting there and trying to come up with, solutions to their problems, they were out of their heads and coming up with solutions. So yeah, that is essentially my presentation. This is my contact information. So if anybody has any questions, I'd love to hear from the audience. Please feel free to unmute yourself or post some questions in the chat. And let's see, let me go through and see if there's anything.
Yeah, you've got about 13 minutes, Patty.
Awesome. So please, I could always talk about Lego. I love using Lego with, again, with seniors. This is my passion. I had a couple of clients who were over 100 who, I could go back and talk about some of those stories. And people
So tell us how you introduce Legos to a group of persons with dementia.
Thank you, Denise. Yeah, when I talk to folks with dementia, it's really amazing because what you're doing is you're trying to introduce a sense of wonder, right? And so usually what I start out with is I ask them, are you a dog or cat person? Right. And then they look at me like, I don't know, I like dogs, I guess. So I'm like, okay, great. So here's a Duplo dog, and I'm going to show you how to place it onto a base plate. And they're like, huh. First, they're like surprised and they're like, what is that? And then they focus on it and like, oh, it's a little dog. And then they remember about the dogs they had in their life. Or if they say they like cats, then I show them a little cat. And Duplo makes so many different versions of these. And again, I show them how to place it on a base plate. And then I give them a bunch of minifigures, and I let them experiment and let them try it out. And usually within a few minutes, they're really enjoying themselves and just having a lot of fun. I'm going to go back. Let's see if I could go back. And so yeah, let's see what else. And then I'll introduce them to bricks. I find that there are 3 different types of builders with folks with Alzheimer's and dementia. I have the kind that the builders who love to stack and build towers, right? So they're just stacking bricks on top of each other, which is amazing. I have the sorters, the ones who will pick one color and only build with that one color. And then I have what I call the designers or the organizers, who will take different types of minifigures. They're attracted to maybe the animals, or, I've got these emotion bricks that are so cute, and then they'll take it and they'll design or they'll organize. In the bottom center photo, that's Lillian. I met her when she was 103. And we played for 3 years until her passing. And I used to ask her all the time, what's your secret to long life? And she would say, the people and family, that I have around me. And so she loved the minifigures, and you could see how she fills up her base plate with minifigures, and she was amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Denise, for that question.
So if we were to start to use Legos at home with our carries, I'm curious how you suggest we incorporate it into our routine.
Excellent. Great question. Thank you, Denise. You're so awesome. So I would suggest you try this for about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe once a week, right? 45 minutes because you want to start out and see how this works. You set up a nice place in your home. I would suggest a large table. I had a community once put down a Lego tablecloth with the best of intention, but unfortunately the color distracted them. And it actually, I had a lot of people try to pick up the pieces from the tablecloth. So avoid a colorful tablecloth. You want something, a single color, right? So it doesn't distract from the Lego pieces. Lego is already colorful and bright, and you don't need any other distractions. Correct. So I would suggest a base plate so that it's easier for them to put pieces down. You see the green base plates in some of the pictures here. One of the things I highly recommend is play music that they love. So it's usually music from when they were growing up, maybe the late teens, early 20s, whatever music they were into at that time. If you play that music during your session, you will see them a little bit be more open. They're already in a good space. They're going to sit there and dance and, in their chairs or whatever. And then you slowly introduce them and you show them parts one at a time. You can't simply just put Lego in front of people and expect them to build, especially if they're 70 and above, because the majority of them have never been introduced to Lego and they're not sure what this thing is. Another thing I would like to express is that sometimes with folks of this population, they want to put Lego pieces backwards for some reason. And that's okay. I used to, in the beginning, try to correct them. And it doesn't matter. I mean, especially with, Alzheimer's and dementia, you could correct them and 5 minutes later, they're going to do it again. There's no sense in getting upset or making them upset. What I find is that it's amazing, actually, with folks of this generation, they never give up. So they might sit there for a few minutes and they're like, this is not working, and then they'll eventually turn it over and it'll click and they're like, yay, you figured it out, and they're like, oh, I did. That's usually the reaction I get. And then if 5 minutes later, they might turn around and they might try to do the same thing, but that's okay. The whole point is that they're exploring, they're trying something new. There's this sense of wonder and curiosity and creativity that they are able to do. To me, working with folks with the mid to late stages of the disease who have lost their capacity for language and now able to express themselves through a different medium, I think is huge. And I've transformed so many people's lives with just this simple tool.
So there's a couple questions in the chat room around how do I know what to build?
You know what? So that's a great question. Great question. And I'm going to answer it with a story. I used to go to a board and care where I worked with a gentleman who is I think in the mid stages of dementia. And he was my fastest builder. I would give him a base plate and he would just fill it up with minifigures. He was so fast that when he filled up a base plate, I would push it to the side and I would give him another base plate. And within a session, he would fill up 3 base plates, right, with minifigures. And I mean, he was really fast. I mean, he just loved it. One day, the administrator came by and said, he used to be an engineer, what, and he used to build bridges. Why did you have him build a bridge? So I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. He never seemed interested in the bricks, but we'll try it. I'm always willing to try something new. So I asked him, I said, let's try building a bridge. And he just stopped. He just stopped, like just sat there and would not do anything. And I'm like, if you don't know how, that's okay. I can help you. We could build it together. And I took out the bricks and I showed him, look, stack it on top of mine. And he just would not do anything. He completely shut down. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. Do whatever you want to build whatever you'd like. And he just went back to building the way he was building before. So I never tell anybody what to build. You can build whatever you like, whatever your heart, whatever brings joy to you, build that. Yeah, I mean, there's millions of different things that you can build. If you need inspiration, Google your interest and Lego, and you will find someone else in the world is building something that will inspire you to build your own thing.
So just when we were doing the few minutes of our own building, I built 3 different versions with the 6. And what I did is I just used the color to guide me. I worked with a guy who built a Lego version of Wrigley Field where the Cubs play. So you can build anything. And I love this idea of just Googling a photo and then using that as inspiration. But I also think the color of the Legos really are inspiring to put them together in a way that it becomes a piece of art, to think about how the colors fit together. So it's not just the bricks, but it's the colors.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
you could even do a pattern where there's just different one color, and create something that is just this beautiful pattern of different colors.
Right. It's like my logo up on above, that's made out of Lego, and it's essentially cheese slopes, which are their little 1x1 roof tiles that people use. I put it in a different a pattern, 2 different directions, and then I come up with that logo. That's the pattern I used for the logo. For my lotus flower here, I use the same type of pattern. You can't really see it in the camera, but I use the clear pieces on the background to make it look like muddy water, because that's a lotus flower. I'm a Buddhist, so the lotus flower represents cause and effect. It also represents, lotus flowers grow in muddy water to become this beautiful flower. So it represents our lives. We have to go through the muck sometimes to become a beautiful human being. So yeah, and if you can't tell, I love patterns and I love colors. So.
Yeah, that's what I think is interesting about Legos, is you don't have to build something that feels like a truck. You can build something that feels like a pattern or a piece of art. And there's some chatter in the chat room about where to get Legos. So Elizabeth is going to look in her Goodwill, her local Goodwill, but you could also look at garage sales. When there's a family holding a garage sale of toys they want to get rid of,
That's
I bet there's a bucket of Legos there.
Craigslist is a good place. I would stay away from eBay. eBay, is a great site, but for some reason you'll get a lot of mix of a lot of people. People throw in a lot of stuff in their toy boxes and they're just trying to get rid of it. So you'll end up with a lot of non-Lego things in a bag. But Craigslist is a great place. Bricklink is a great website. This is third-party websites you can get individual parts from. And then of course Lego.com, Walmart, Costco, Target, they all sell discounted sets. So Target and Walmart are a great place to buy the little Duplo sets that you can use. So it doesn't really matter what set you have, what pieces you have, it really doesn't matter. It's a great way to introduce, and you slowly over time build up collections, you know. So yeah. And get in touch with, if you're really into it, get in touch with a Lego community near you. They're all over the world. And you'd be amazed what people are building with Lego.
Just one last question. What would you sterilize the Legos with?
Great. It's a great question. You can simply wash them with soap and water and dish soap. You know, rinse it, let it sit, hot water, let it sit for a little bit, rinse it out, and then just strain it and really rinse it off. And then make sure that you, if you put it on, you could put it on a towel. You could run them through your dishwasher. You can put them through your washing machine as well. But they will get scratched that way, so they might become dull over a certain amount of time. But simple washing with dish soap and water, just make sure they're completely dry before putting them into a sealed container, because water has a knack of getting into all the little nooks and crannies of your Lego.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Patty. So we're going to take a
Thank you.
10-minute break, and I'll see you guys back here in 10 minutes.